your good job?
I suppose, you would have done, like the players, a lot of reflecting on the performance the other day. Is it a case of, drawing on the positives from the recent spell and moving on to the weekend? As much as you can?
Yes and no. I'm always a huge believer in identifying the problem in front of you and not trying to kind of beat about the bush, so to speak. But what I do draw on is what's been a common theme since I'd came in. We're looking at those small gains. I'd spoke about achieving as many points in 7 games as what we had done the whole season prior to that. The clean sheets, doubling your number of wins for the season, all these different types of things, and they're positives. They are positives. But what I focus more on is solutions, and we need to come up with an answer to a solution, which is when we seem to do something just okay, we then seem to fall back on ourselves, and we tend to fall back into a position where it's not even losing a game of football, it's that the standard and the level drops so far below the expectation. And again, people won't like to hear that, players won't like to hear it, supporters won't be happy with it, but that is the most honest version that I can give. So from my side, and I did touch on it after the game, that I think what it makes abundantly clear is we can't just do the same thing in the next game. We need to change something. I've never really worked like that before, but it'd be fair to say that I've not really seen a situation like this. I thought I'd almost seen everything by now, but what that tells me is that we either can't find the correct energy levels to repeat it. We either don't have the mental capacity as a group to be able to repeat it. We're either not showing the technical traits to repeat it. So for me, we need to then change something up the next game. That might sound quite dramatic. That might sound quite over the top. But I said it to you, Paul, that the definition of insanity is to keep seeing the same thing all the time and no try and make change, no try and make a difference. And I think the players at this point in time must and will acknowledge that we've come up with a positive result and a positive scoreline. And then I've always been big on trying to trust the same group, whether we tweak their starting positions, alter a shape slightly, try and become a wee bit versatile to what the next game may be. We've not been able to back it up with anything, so we have to address that. We have to look at that. But the first thing we would have to do, and what I'm talking about there, is come up with another positive result, another positive performance before we can start to look at that situation.
Everyone says Arbroath at Gayfield's a battle. What do you expect from them this weekend?
I think that's a wee bit disrespectful, to be honest with you. Personally, I think just to say it's a battle is disrespectful. It's something that really resonates with me. I think they've got really good quality in their team. I think that they're a team that acknowledge what the league is, that they will have to battle, of course they will, and I don't think they come up second best to that many times. I think they're punching well above their weight, and again I see that in the most respectful way. To be a part-time team, for me, by far and away the best part-time team in the country. These guys will be going, and again this is where it's close to my heart, out working, doing their graft all week, have had a midweek game, and then they'll go and pitch themselves out there on Saturday. I've got just the utmost respect for how competitive they are, what they're doing in the league at this point in time. And again, people might not like me saying it, but it's not to diminish or take away anything that they're doing. It's to then say that for me that really puts a focus on the full-time teams. That puts, we're supposed to be doing this all day, every day, practicing what we do. Supposedly we should be better athletes, we should be better technically, we should be more attuned to what we want to do. So again, people might laugh and think that I'm being a little bit awkward in my answer there. I mean it wholeheartedly, and when I was a part-time player playing against full-time teams, which was the case, I used to use that as a huge motivator. So as the full-time team and the team that the expectations on, again, you better make sure that you can try and deal with that you're able to try and take that pressure on board, and that you can actually execute what you're intending to do on the Saturday. But again, I won't take away from the fact that I don't think you see a huge difference between Arbroath as a part-time team and the full-time teams, because I think one, they're doing something really, really well, and yeah, they'll know how to play at Gayfield and be able to deal with the conditions and all the rest of it. But I absolutely think they've got some real quality in their team as well.
Yeah, I mean, Finlay Marshall, by all accounts, here this morning, you know, Aberdeen see him as a big part of their plans, you know, going forward. They've brought in Scott Robinson, who as well, who's given them an extra edge up front, haven't they? So they've got a real balance, and as you say, real quality in that side that makes them more than battlers there.
Absolutely. I think they've got the blend right in terms of the loan market. I think they've got the blend right in terms of guys that are able to acquit themselves well in this league, the experience that's in there, bit of energy, and I think what they do, even though you look at the so-called sort of ball players and the technical players, if they need to put their shoulder to the wheel and go and fight and scrap to stay in a game or to take the game to you, they will do that. But then their quality still seems to week upon week come to fruition. So these are all things that we have to contend with, that we have to deal with. But again, if you look at it off bare feet and you look at your squad and the people that are in there with the experience and the know-how and the understanding, then I would fully expect us to be more than competitive in the game. But everything I've just said there, and I think a lot of people expected Arbroath to go away at some point this season and to start tumbling down the table, lose form, lose their standard. They've not. They've been anything but. They look as if they're getting stronger rather than getting weaker.
Final one from me is just the players. What do you expect from them between now and Saturday, so that they can earn a shirt, because they'll know that their places are at stake?
No, just a reaction, a sign and a signal of that you care and that you acknowledge how far we fell in terms of our level of performance. But what we also need to remember as well is, and again, I'm not saying anything that I've not said to the players, I think at this stage everybody's had a chance. You know, so this bit where if you've not been selected in a squad, or you find yourself on the bench, or you come off, or you come on the pitch, or you come off the pitch as a starter, we as football players and football people can try and create a different narrative. But what we need to acknowledge is we're still bottom of the table, and everybody's had a shot in that as well. So I think sometimes you can do the right things between now and Saturday, say the right things between now and Saturday. I think ultimately it comes down to a trust for me to believe that the players on the pitch, or the ones that might come off the bench, are actually going to execute it, and not just sort of point the finger as to, if you'd played me I'd make a difference. Again, I'll say this, but I keep talking about nobody's going to like to hear it. They don't, because it's the truth. Everybody's had an opportunity here, and I think it would be fair to say that everybody at this football club over the course of the season has let themselves down at some point over this stretch as well. There's nobody that's been impeccable. There's nobody that's not had a poor performance or made a mistake in there. What we have seen since the start of January is sporadically we've seen better. We've seen a little bit more consistency, but it'd be fair to say that I'd be looking for far more consistency than what I've seen to this point.
You said earlier that you thought you'd seen everything in football. Is this current scenario, the way things are playing out, one of the tougher challenges you feel like you faced in your career? No,
I've faced difficult challenges. That's not in question. I think it's more just the specific side of it that we can all see. You know, we can try and make a story up or whatever, but you don't need to be good at your job to be able to look at results and certainly look over this last period to see that there has been an improvement in points tally, results, clean sheets for Ross County. Of course there has. So me going on the negative side all the time, you know, sometimes I'm making people's life easier for them to criticise you. But what I'm saying is that there has been an uplift in that sense. There has been an improvement in that sense factually. But also, if you look factually, you'll see that at times we've not been able to back up a performance. We've not been able to back up a result. And that's a great frustration for me, because I think in this league, if you're able to piece together 3-4 games, you could dramatically see the situation change. And I think just for that extra concentration, that slightly better decision making, because again, you look at it against Dunfermline, goals change games. It's two individual errors that really cost us to start with, to be 2-0 down. I felt that there was still an opportunity for us to react and respond better. But as I say, you don't need to be amazing at your job. Anybody can sit in front of their phone or their computer and start to build a take and an understanding of what that issue has been. But more specifically, for us, it's to find out a solution to the problem.
how easy is that defence solution when, as you say, it's individual mistakes? That's not something you're obviously coaching during the week. You're not coaching them to make those mistakes. So how do you coach them out of that?
Well, you're asking how easy it is. I'll be able to tell you that if or when we're able to change that particular thing. Because as I say, I think factually there have been improvements made. Of course there has, because of the number of points we've had, the number of wins we've had. I'm not disputing that side of it. But all I'm trying to say is that I've been a huge advocate of, at times, trying to find a modicum of consistency and a way of working and a way of playing and how you approach games. That will alter sometimes from within having the same personnel. But if you look at it as a player, I think you have a leg to stand on if you say, we won a game of football 2-0 against Wraith Rovers and the manager's taken me out of the team for the next again game. I can't understand that. I performed well, I've done my job. Well, I'm saying that I do have a leg to stand on to be able to change that, because we've shown several times already, 3 defeats, if you want to say, Queen's Park here, Great Morton away and Dunfermline away off the back of winning games of football, then I'm saying I have a leg to stand on to change that, to make 3 or 4 changes to the team, to try and change the stimulus, to try and change the thought process, maybe to inject something slightly different into the team. Then I've not seen that situation before, because the reason why you would have a leg to stand on as a player is that you can show somebody you've been able to back up the performance the game before, whether it's Saturday into Tuesday or Saturday to Saturday. You would be able to point the finger to say, well, I'm showing you that I'm able to do that. We've not. So again, dealing in facts would suggest that it's in some way, shape or form we need to change that. But I go back to it, we need a positive result, we need a positive performance before we start to get to that point again.
Yeah. How's the squad looking? Any changes team use?
I think there will be much and such the same. I don't really see there being any great changes to that. There's been probably a little bit of a setback for Noah Chilvers, and again, not a setback in the sense that he's re-injured anything. It's just that finding it difficult at this point to keep him on the pitch for a string of games. So again, I know there's been a little bit of talk of him coming into consideration for squads and various different things. I don't see that being the case at the weekend. And again, it's not necessarily anything that I'm doing or anything that Noah's doing, but for him to come back in and be able to play, we know we're kind of in a do or die situation. We know he's a good player, but equal to that, you're never going to be able to be in a position where you can risk somebody if there's a bit of swelling or they're starting to feel something. Then generally the way it goes now, you won't be in consideration for the game. So that's the way I see it for this weekend. How that moves forward over the next week or two will be subject to change, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Great, thanks guys, thank you.